Welcome to the Trash Player League, presented to you by them boys over at FLCN. I am your host, Mark Coles, and I'm with my boy, Shawn Williams. It is week 6. Week 5 is officially in the books, so you know what that means. It is time to get into that week 5 post-game analysis. And what we're going to do from there, we're going to get into these power rankings, and there's been a few moves in week 5 that we're going to cover because a lot of players have moved this week. There's been a lot of big trade moves. And then finally, we're going to finish out with our week 6 predictions. So with that being said, without further ado, let's do it.
It's the Trash Player League. Let's get it.
So Shawn, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing all right. Been a busy day for me today. Haven't really got a break, but I did get to see my daughter's flag football team do some damage out there, win 38-12. That's 2 games in a row. They out there eating crazy. So
that's what's up. I
need my fantasy team to do the same, though. That's what I need.
Hey, man, you came off a win this week. You know what I'm saying? So enjoy it. You came off a win in both leagues this week due to the same person, I believe, correct?
No. One league it was due to Lamar Jackson. In another league, it was due to Josh Allen. Yes, Josh Allen saved my ass in this one.
Okay, so
it's quarterbacks. The 2 quarterbacks that I went after, they have been saving my ass. Yes.
Well, we're going to get into all that fun stuff when it comes to the Trash Player League because no other league matters but this one here. But we're going to get into all that fun stuff there. But before we do that, we're going to get into some of these moves that's been happening this week. There's a big 3-way trade move that happened earlier this week, in which you was involved in. So we're going to go ahead and look at that and get the people up to date and what's going on in this league here. Right here, just to cut out all the nonsense, we are right here under trades. And this 3-way trade here involved Team Lancelot, the Indie Animals, God, I love that name, and Raw Dog Supreme. This trade was approved by Commissioner Ricky, as we can all see here. So looking at it, it shows all 3 trades went through at the same time, but I was wondering which trade went through first. Did your trade go through first, or did his trade with Raw Dog Supreme go through first? Or which one did
which one was offered first?
Yes.
To be honest with you, I don't know, but if I'm to believe he was okay with giving up Chase Edmonds and Josh Jacobs, I'm to believe that he had already had the deal set up for him to get Nick Chubb.
Okay. Yeah, one would assume that. So Indie Animals making power moves. As you can see here, he traded Chase Edmonds, Josh Jacobs, and Cortland Sutton away for Stephon Diggs and Chase Claypool. This would seem like this was a lot to give up for Stephon Diggs and Chase Claypool, given the fact that Stephon Diggs currently has been performing mediocre.
Mediocre at best is what I would say.
Yes. So Stephon Diggs' performance has been mediocre up until this point. But when you look on the other side of it, what he was able to get on the other side of that trade with Raw Dog Supreme, he was able to secure Nick Chubb and Tyler Boyd.
To be honest with you, looking at this, Yeah, it does. It does seem as though Indiana most definitely made some good moves here. He essentially traded a bunch of running backs to add to his wide receiver depth, knowing that he was, instead of having 5 running backs, he was just gonna, instead of having 5 or 6 running backs, hey, let's lower it down to 2 to 3 and have 2 of them be every week starters. And that's what he has now with Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry as his running backs. So, great move for him there. To speak on my half of it, I feel like all things considered, it was a more than fair trade. Chase Edmonds, Courtland Sutton, and Josh Jacobs for Stephon Diggs and Claypool, especially considering their contributions up to this point in their situation with Claypool, with Big Ben, the way he's playing, and him being the third at the depth chart at the time. But I do not know how I feel about Raw Dog Supreme giving up Nick Chubb and Tyler Boyd to get DeAndre Hopkins and Damian Williams. And the only reason why I say that, Mark, is because, yes, you're getting DeAndre Hopkins. That is fantastic. Mm-hmm. But Damian Williams is somebody who could be temporarily just playing right now. He might not be playing for the remainder of the fantasy season. So it's a little bit of a desperation move here. But if he can climb out of this hole within the next 4 or 5 weeks that Damian Williams will presume to be the absolute starter, then yes, it might be worth it. So we don't know the timetable of what's his name's return. What's the David Montgomery's return. But if there happens to be any setbacks in his recovery, then this will be a great trade for Raw Dog Supreme, and he will seemingly have the upper hand in this trade. But as of right now, I don't know. Getting rid of Nick Chubb.
There is things that needs to be said about the addition of Damian Williams, because yes, you got Damian Williams, but there is a guy that seemingly crept up in this past game just this week. And it looks like maybe Damian Williams may not be the guy that they go forward with. So we'll see. And if that's the case, then this entire trade is dependent on DeAndre Hopkins coming through in a major way for you. But but on the surface, I do not have a problem with this trade.
No, I don't have a problem with any of these trades at all. Just kudos to Indiana's for making some moves from the first place position at the time.
Yes, at the time. That is key here. And that is something that we're going to get into right now as we get into our segment called 3 and Out. You know, that segment where we go our post-game analysis of each and every team. I'm going to start off first, and I'm going to start off with the Indiana's versus Big Trust. In this game, Big Trust absolutely destroys the Indiana's to a score of 183.24 to 124.98. Darius,
you couldn't wait to say that, huh? You couldn't wait.
Oh no, I could wait. I waited all day. I was good. I was happy to wait. You know what I'm saying? I was cool with it. You know what I'm saying? I want to point out here that Big Trust likes to say that I hate on him. He says Mark and Shawn are the biggest haters, blah, 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 blah. But Big Trust, I want you to see here, right here, it says your pick, my pick to win this game was Big Trust. I believed in you the whole time, my guy. And look at you. You showed out, performed in an insane way. Your quarterback showed up to the point of 46.74. Tom Brady came through for you, and he came through with Mike Evans. That was a big deal. Mike Evans had 2 receiving touchdowns, 113 yards, 6 receptions to the tune of 29.30 points in fantasy. And
real quick, I want to make mention that I also picked him to win that game. So I mean, we both picked him, Mark. For some hating ass niggas, for some hating ass people, we seemingly have picked him both. We both picked him to win. I don't know what's going on here, Mark.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird because this is like the performance that Big Trust was able to get from these guys this week, he was winning this game going away. I mean, that tandem that he's got between Mike Evans and Chris Godwin has come through yet again this week. He got 29 points from Mike Evans, 14 points from Chris Godwin. So anytime that you could end around 45 points between two players, then you good. You excellent. That worked out for you. And that quarterback that you have gave you 46 points. But the big thing that happened here, the thing that took this team over the top to their score, is the fact that Mark Andrews showed up with 147 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and 11 receptions. Everybody watched that game that happened Monday night, and we seen exactly how Mark Andrews was able to come through while Lamar Jackson was just throwing strikes from the pocket, which magically people said he couldn't do. But it seems like when these players decide they actually want to catch the ball, it's crazy how Lamar Jackson looks like a quarterback, huh?
Yeah, it is crazy. I tell you what, Mark Andrews looked like Mark Andrews of old. That's for damn sure. So, you done with your 3 and out, or you got more?
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned the wide receivers, and you mentioned the quarterback play, and you just mentioned the tight end. I don't know if that was your 3.
Listen, man, I'm gonna have to do that thing that I do and just go ahead and I'm going to have to go for it on 4th down because I got one more point to make. Because despite everything that Indianapolis was able to do with his team, Derrick Henry getting 31 and Nick Chubb getting 24 there, he comes up short. And he came up short. Why? TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson is a big reason or a big part of why he came up short this week. TJ Hawkinson, I believe this is his 2nd or maybe 3rd week in a row in which he has had a less than 10-point score. And when a guy that was drafted so early, I don't think you want that. Let's check to be sure. Yes.
I was going to say, yeah, that's 3 in a row.
3 weeks in a row. TJ Hawkinson has come up short.
That look good in the first 2 weeks, Mark? That looked great in the first 2 weeks. He's not even getting targeted now. But I'll just go ahead and say it. There's been a little bit more love for the wide receivers, but really the passing game seems to be headed towards Swift a lot more times than not. And then it seems as though the fact that they couldn't move the ball against some of these teams in general and stay on the field is what's been affecting Hawkinson's game. So maybe when they play some lesser defenses, maybe they'll be able to get back to feeding Hawkinson. But at this time, Jared Goff is not enough to overcome anything that a great defense or even seemingly good defense is going to throw at them.
Yeah, it seems like.
And I wanted to say one more thing, Mark, here before we leave, because I did talk crazy to Tobias. I talked crazy to Big Trust before, in the past. And I know me and you both talked about the starting Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but I will go and say this. As long as Gronkowski is going to be out, seemingly there will be enough balls to go around for these two guys to eat weekly. And that is going to be key, right? They don't even look at Cameron Brate. Okay. that opens it up for these guys to both eat in the same week. And it's been paying off for Big Trust since Gronk has been injured.
That is very true. Very big deal. I mean, there's really no need to look at the bench to see if anything's going to change his fate, but we're going to do that anyway because, consistency. I will just point out here, Madison had 26 points on his bench and Claypool had 24 points on his bench. It wouldn't have did much to help him to a W, but these are just the facts that he had these players with significant amounts of points on his bench.
He would need 60. He would have only gotten 50 from them. That's not enough.
Right. So it doesn't change much for that. Big Trust just absolutely dominated this week, and somehow he still was not the biggest scorer of this week. But I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to you. Let's look at the next matchup of the week. Who you got, sir?
The next matchup of the week, I will be going. Let's talk about Raw Dog Supreme versus I Love Cam Newton. Let's just get into that.
All righty.
Okay, so we got Raw Dog Supreme here with 140.68 to I Love Cam Newton's 95.78 points. Mark, I don't know what's going on with I Love Cam Newton, but he looks like he's going into some type of a tailspin here. It just doesn't look good for him. Every week I turn back, he's scoring less points. I don't know what's going on here.
I could tell you exactly what's going on with him, honestly, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and get into it first.
We're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at it here. So let me just go ahead and move this so I can see the whole screen. Yeah, so looking at it here, first and foremost, you have looks like I Love Cam Newton got some good play from the quarterback. So it's just crazy to me when you look at that. You look at the quarterback, you look at Dak Prescott's total, Cooper Kupp's total, and you compare it to Russell Wilson, who got hurt during the game, and then you have Jalen Waddle, which Waddle being in that position just really does something to my brain, Mark. I don't get it. But 5.3 points. I don't know why anybody would try to own any Miami wide receivers at this point, but 5.3 right there alone should have been enough of a disparity for I Love Cam Newton to win. So that is my first point in my 3 and out. And right there, you would think that's enough. And then you just scroll down. Look at that. DeAndre Hopkins, 20 points. The trade pays off. And then you look at Jonathan Taylor in his monster game that he had, 116 receiving yards. 116 receiving yards. I don't even care about his rushing yards. Okay? It doesn't even matter. Okay? It doesn't even matter. He got 116 receiving yards. He got a rushing touchdown. He got a receiving touchdown, and he went off. So right there, all the points that he had right there with the quarterback in Cooper Kupp negated by Hopkins and Jonathan Taylor. So that trade immediately pays off for Raw Dog Supreme. And then, so for my third point, it's going to go down to it. Kyle Pitts, Mark. Kyle Pitts finally pays off in a big way. We had some question marks. I personally thought Kyle Pitts was worth the draft pick at the time. I thought that Kyle Pitts would turn out to be the one tight end that was going to do numbers in his rookie season. And he hasn't been doing anything, but this week it was it. Kyle Pitts, 26.9 points. That's
it was
really
a big deal that 2 of their starting wide receivers were out this week. So Kyle Pitts, like if Kyle Pitts didn't do anything this week, it would have been safe to drop him in my.
Oh, it would have been concerning, but this is the way I expected them to use him. 9 receptions for 119 yards, Mark. They're dinking and dunking with Kyle Pitts here. But just to add to that, because I'm going to go a 4th down here. Look what you see though. Kyle Pitts is in the flex position, Mark. This man started 2 tight ends. He started Schultz and he started Kyle Pitts. And look at that. Look at that. It's like magic, Mark. He happened to be the best available guy. Maybe it seems as though it paid off. It paid off for him to play 2 tight ends. This just, to be honest, this is an unfortunate week for I Love Cam Newton. Any other week, Cooper Kupp goes nuclear and Darren Waller gets you points. This ain't it, but this is letting you know how dependent his team is on 3 players. If Dak Prescott, Cooper Kupp, and Darren Waller have to go nuclear every week for him to win.
Well, I would slightly disagree there, only because this is a team that has been somewhat ravaged by injuries. As you can see here, David Montgomery is out. And I believe he dropped a. Oh, and that was another one. Dalvin Cook was out this week as well. These are two guys that he is heavily dependent on throughout the week, and he was missing them. In normal position, had Dalvin Cook been healthy, this game would have probably looked a little bit different. And if David Montgomery was healthy, you could at least guarantee about 10 to 15 points from David Montgomery. So
yes, and I'll give you that, but I just look at it and see that Odell's still there. He would have been in the line. He would have still been in the lineup. Cooper Kupp, Dak Prescott usually give him more points, and an 8-point performance from Darren Waller is not something that he normally does. So,
right,
yes, maybe he would have been saved by Dalvin Cook in Montgomery, but looking at the point totals for the rest of the players that were on the field, maybe it wouldn't have been enough.
Maybe not. It may not have been. We do know that it would have given him a fighting chance, and he would not have been looking at a score of 95.78.
No.
I love Cam Newton is definitely bitten by the injury bug so far, and hopefully
it's not looking good for the bye week, Mark. Bye weeks are starting up now, and you're holding on to a bunch of guys that are injured. So I mean, let's hope they get healthy, I guess.
Well, I love Cam Newton did drop Juju Smith-Schuster this week now that he is out for the season. So we will see what changes he makes going forward, but that is for next week. Anyway, moving on. You were done, correct?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay. Moving on, we are going to get into the next matchup, and this was the highest point total scored this week by Corey's championship team to a tune of 186.48 to your player got hurt, 119.02. This is another unfortunate matchup in which one team just goes absolutely nuclear and there's nothing you could have did about it. It didn't matter who you started, what you did. You was going to lose this week against this particular team. And that's unfortunate. Getting the highest point total that we have seen thus far this season, Corey's championship team had Lamar Jackson give him 48.88 points to the tune of 4 passing touchdowns, 442 passing yards, and 62 rushing yards. Lamar Jackson put on an absolute quarterback clinic last night in the third and fourth quarter, and it reflects in his fantasy points. And it's unfortunate because your player got hurt. Had Tyler Heineke only give him 8.92. That is not a recipe for a win, even under the best circumstances of Lamar Jackson only giving Corey's championship team 25. So, anyway, but moving on, your player got hurt. Did get some consistent performances this week from Deontay Johnson and Amari Cooper, who gave them 15 points each. But it fell short of Justin Jefferson's and Malcolm Brown's 19 points and
Marquise
30.
Brown. Let's call him Hollywood today.
Excuse me, you're right. Marquise Brown. You're right.
Let's call him Hollywood today.
But you know what? That's the thing. He did earn his nickname now. He has been Hollywood so far this season. There's only been one game where he's been Marquise. So Hollywood has shown up, and you have 33 points from him as well. And going down the line, the last point that I want to make is that there's the new addition to Corey's championship team showed up. It showed out. Kareem Hunt had 25 points for him as the premier member of his team to the tune of 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 receptions, 61 rushing yards. And had it not been for a snafu by Reese's Buttercup team, he would not be here on this team to contribute to this outlandish point total. Do you have remarks about?
Yes. First things first. might have to do some apologizing to Corey's championship team here.
Absolutely.
Just considering, let's forget about Kareem Hunt for right now. Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, these guys are paying off for him in a big way right now.
And Jamar Chase. And these are Hollywood and Jamar Chase are guys that we definitely did not believe in. We didn't believe in them at all. 0%, Mark. I would even go as far as to say that I believed in Jamar Chase more than I believed in Hollywood. Way more
at the time.
Way more.
I thought that Jamar Chase would at least figure it out partway through the season, maybe.
Exactly.
But man, Hollywood's outdoing him. So with that said, I will apologize to Corey about my comments about his draft and how crappy it was. Apparently he knew something that we didn't, Mark. But that's one comment. The other comment I had was, your player got hurt. Ha. I just find it ironic that your name is your player got hurt. Ha. Everybody else's players have been getting hurt and somehow you're still not winning games. You have the worst luck at quarterback. Tyler Heineke has been money all year long. You pick him up, you put him in the starting lineup, and he gives you 8 points. I don't know what you can do to fix your situation there, Ricky, but I'm sure you're going to figure it out. You seem to be a guy who likes to make moves, make trades, and do waiver wire pickups. So I assume that we're going to see yet another quarterback starting next week.
Well, if I do know that your player got hurt is in the midst of trying to make a move, and if he is unable to make that move, I would suggest holding on to Tyler Heineke. I do not see a repeat performance of a lowest point total, especially given their next week opponent. Their next week opponent being Kansas City, who has been giving up 30 points a game. I think you should roll with Tyler Heineke, and I do not believe that your team is bad at all. So I feel as though this is just a situation in which you are running into a buzzsaw every week.
And to be honest, let's say he gets a 30 point from Heineke, which is realistic, instead of getting the 8.9 here, the score looks totally different. He would have been somewhere around, almost 140, closer to 140. And that is enough to win games. I do believe that Ricky has a good team. He literally just needs to find a quarterback.
Yeah. But nothing would have helped you this week. So I guess you do take solace in that, because 186 is completely outlandish. There's no reason to check. But we're going to do it anyway for consistency reasons. So looking at the bench, AJ Dillon actually was on the board for 17 points for Corey's championship team. Now, that's the only thing that stood out to me here. And outside of that, it looks like Ricky has started everybody that he possibly could that was going to give him anything. So kudos on that part for starting the right players. I do see brighter days ahead of you, but hopefully it doesn't happen when we match up again in the regular season. If we match up again in the regular season. Well, with that being said, Shawn, who do we have next?
Well, that leaves us with Lambarticus Prime versus FTW.
All right.
So here we go. And I'm going to say this every time I cover his team. This is the team that I thought was the best top to bottom after the draft. I thought Lambarticus Prime had the best team. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Doesn't matter. He is currently in first place. With yet another win. He puts up 153.02 versus 137 that FTW team auto draft has here. So real quick, first off, out the gate, Justin Herbert versus Matt Stafford's numbers. You expect Matt Stafford to put up better numbers than 18 points versus Seattle defense, and FTW was let down in that department by Matt Stafford this week in this game. I wholeheartedly believe the disparity between Justin Herbert's points and Matt Stafford's points is really the determining factor in this game, because you expect Matt Stafford to have anywhere between 25 to 30 points versus Seattle. So that's point one. If you fast forward here, you go down, and I'm going to talk about the wide receiver play of CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Lockett, and Austin Eckler versus Brandon Cooks, Michael Pittman, and Alvin Kamara. All of that 32-point performance that he gets from Eckler gets negated by Alvin Kamara getting 29 and then Michael Pittman getting 20. I don't like Michael Pittman as a starting receiver, but he showed up today. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Lockett, Austin Eckler, barely a disparity between them and those other three guys on the other side of them. And then that's point two. So there you go. It's pretty much an even battle at that point. You have for point three, you look down, and Swift and Kelsey versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Mike Gesicki. He finally starts Mike Gesicki, and this is what he does to him. You should have started him the other 2 weeks when he was going off. You wait this long to start him merely out of having to, because Logan Thomas was hurt. I don't even believe, Mark, that he would have started him if Logan Thomas wasn't hurt. And this is what he gets. He gets let down by Mike Gesicki. Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets injured, goes on the IR. So once again, he gets outscored here by DeAndre Swift and Travis Kelce. So you get down to it there, and basically, I don't want to get into the flex in the defense and the kicker, but once again, we scroll back up to the top. Justin Herbert versus Matt Stafford. There's where the game was won. This is a tough loss. This is a really tough loss for FTW. Basically, I think in any other week you put up 137, you have a pretty damn good chance to win. Apparently not in week 5, Mark. Week 5, 137 puts you at spot number 7 for point totals this week. Right. So
yeah, I will. It's interesting because you look at these scores just so far that we've gone over, and it seems like the quarterback position has been the difference. These top quarterbacks have went insane this week for the most part, and that's the big difference there. Is that some of these, we've had quite a few quarterbacks give 40-point performances, and we're still not done with seeing the 40-point performances from these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, just pointing this one out, 398 passing yards to 365. The difference is one of them has one TD and one interception. The other guy has 4 TDs and no interceptions.
Well, he has 5 TDs.
Oh, he rushed one. Oh, my bad. He rushed for one. 5 TDs. So yes, you better have a quarterback that's throwing touchdowns or at least rushing for him, because apparently some of these guys are going for 4 to 5 touchdowns every week.
Right. So now let's look at the bench and see if anything could have changed FTW's fate. And no, not really. Nothing could have changed his fate. Nothing at all. But as we can see, there's quite a there's nothing to see here. Just all regular bench stuff. Anyway, so moving right along, we're going to go into the last team that I'm going to cover today. And this was the lowest margin of victory for this week. Team Lancelot to We Not From 750, 138.30 to 134.46. Team Lancelot barely escapes with the victory this week. We Not From 750 had the victory snatched from him this week. And the biggest thing that you have here, the reason why We Not from 750 lost is fucking CPT time. The same reason why he had Ezekiel Elliott on his team is the same reason why he lost this week. He admitted that he did not notice he fell asleep and he slept through the lineup change and he forgot. So Devontae Parker, who was out the day before, and he's still in this lineup, 0 points because he didn't even play the game.
This is what you call falling asleep at the wheel, Mark. Literally, twice. That boy got narcolepsy. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
Listen, man, we not from 750 has a better days are going to come. I do not believe that somebody I just don't believe that you're going to continue to have that 0 in front of your record. So I'm hoping for you for later. But getting back to this, Josh Allen gives Team Lancelot 42.50 points to Aaron Rodgers 22.76. And but the big guy here is Mike. I mean, that's to be expected from Josh Allen in games where he goes up against Kansas City. But Mike Williams gives him 36 points going up against Cleveland. That is a little unexpected. And in that game, Mike Williams did come through big time for Team Lancelot. And Mike Williams is probably largely why you, Team Lancelot, felt comfortable letting go of Stephon Diggs.
Absolutely why I felt comfortable. I just figured the odds are in my favor to most weeks out of Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, and Mike Williams. 2 of the 3 will go off for me, Mark. And right now, I really haven't been let down. I did lose one game where I had 2 of them go off. So, I mean, it happens, I guess. But yes, very comfortable letting Stephon Diggs go.
Yes. And my last point here is that Leonard Fournette gave We Not From 750 a 21-point performance, outscoring his point projections. And it seems like Leonard Fournette's his point totals are trending in an upward direction, which is what you want to see. And since I've been talking so poorly about him, I am definitely going to talk about him when he's on his way up. Kudos to Leonard Fournette and kudos to We Not From 750 for sticking with him. Unfortunately, I wish he would stick with an alarm clock because had he did that, he would have won this week.
Hey, look, Mark, once again, this is 3 weeks. This is another week where the football gods have smiled down upon me, Mark. I heard somebody say, hey, man, don't worry about it. He started Devontae Parker. He ain't even giving no points. He's out. You're going to be fine. And then as I continue to watch everybody go off, Zeke, Robert Woods all of a sudden goes off. Leonard Fournette's going off. Tennessee defense gives him 13. And I'm just like, this would happen this week, the week that I don't have any type of backup as far as tight end position goes. I don't have anybody that could possibly go off in my tight end or my flex position. And this is the week that everybody on this team goes off. So once again, thank you to the football gods. Thank you to Rodney. We not from 750. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your lack of attention. Keep it up. Keep up the good work there. You're going to get you a W one day, but it wasn't this week, buddy. Thank you. Thank you for not having me have to deal with Tobias and Darius at my fucking throat because I lost to you. Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Well, let's look at the benches. If anything could have changed their fates. And right away, anything would have changed. Anything at all would have changed from 750's fate. Had he start Allen Robinson, who only got 7 points, he would have won the game. And Tony Pollard had 14 points on his bench as well. But
Baker Mayfield, if he would have started Baker Mayfield over Aaron Rodgers, that would have done
anything at all would have won him. And that's just how that goes there, which is unfortunate. But one thing that I did notice here is that this is the second week in a row where you've left quite a few points on your bench. You seem to be disconnected from who you should be starting.
I think the players on my team are disconnected from who they should be putting points up against, but that's just me. I'm gonna go in the locker room, have a little chat with these guys, and we're gonna rearrange some things. And some of these guys that were supposed to be starters, maybe they won't be. So don't worry about it. I'm gonna talk to my guys.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this works out because this is the second week, man. A lot of points on your bench. A lot of startable points is on your bench.
Look, last week was justified, the points that were left on the bench. This week, I will give you this much. Cortland Sutton versus Pittsburgh. Come on now. Hubbard versus Philly. Maybe I should have started him.
Absolutely.
Jacobs versus Chicago. Seeing as though Peyton Barber was out, I could have started him. I felt like him and Chase Edmonds were interchangeable. I was wrong. Chase Edmonds did absolutely nothing because the Niners defense, my team, finally decided to show up to play.
Well, I mean, they usually show up on the front lines.
They haven't even showed up.
That they have.
Look, since Kyler Murray has been in the league, he has cooked us, Mark. And this is the first game that he has had versus us since he's been in the league where he didn't cook us. And I don't know. I'm happy that he didn't.
Chase Edmonds is a running back and Kyler Murray is a quarterback.
Chase Edmonds is a running back that relies on receiving. And it's very hard to receive the ball when Kyler Murray is running for his life.
Okay. Feel you. All right. Fair enough. Well, anyway, it's time for the last matchup of the week, sir. Whenever you're ready, I guess.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. I choose Violence versus Reese's Buttercups. I don't know, Mark. There seem to have been some type of, dare I say, rivalry brewing here. I don't know. Is it rivalry week again, Mark? How many rivals do you have in this league? I don't know, but I know that
everybody.
Reese's Buttercup seems to be upset with you and picking at you, Mark. And she insists every day that whenever she gets a chance to go in the chat and to curse your name, she does. Look where it's gotten her, Mark. Absolutely nowhere. She has been beaten by damn near twice the amount of points here. I don't know what Reese's Buttercups are doing, but let's get into it. We're just going to get into it here.
It's the biggest blowout in the league so far this season, by the way, to the tune of 78 points.
This is ridiculous. This shouldn't have happened. But let's just get into it. Let's go down here and take a look. Craziest thing about this game, I'm going to point out, is Kyler Murray scoring 14 points, lowest point total of the year, and you still managed to get 168. But let's talk about the quarterback play. I want to talk about this because Patrick Mahomes has been Reese's Buttercup saving grace since the season started. And every week we've had this come up here and sit down and say, maybe her pick wasn't bad because he put up this amount of points. Okay? Well, he put up 21. If you have an average quarterback, that's a great number. If you have Patrick Mahomes and you picked him second in the second round, that's not the total that you're looking for.
You picked him in the first round.
Oh, was it the first round?
Yes.
Yeah, no, this is not the point total that you want, okay? So let's just scoop past here. So that's first off. Quarterback, even though it doesn't seem like a big deal, it is a big deal that Patrick Mahomes only outscores Kyler Murray by 7 points in a week where Kyler Murray has an absolute down week. This is unacceptable. Okay. Now we fast forward. I'm just gonna speak about the single digit numbers that I'm seeing over here for Reese's Buttercup. Let's look at it. We got Terry McLaurin, 8 points. Devin Singletary, 3 points. Naheem Hines, 1 point. Conklin, 4.5 points. Thielen, 6 points. Okay. Every single person that I just named scored less than the kicker. Okay, Mark. This is a problem. There is not a person in this league that she could have played this week that she would have won against. She has scored the lowest point total of the week, And this is why. You just got a bunch of single digits. Terry McLaurin, I don't foresee him having another game like this. But these things happen, Mark. These things happen. And when they happen, you don't want Devin Singletary and Nyheim Hines as your running backs, okay? You do not want those guys as your running backs for this reason in particular, okay? And I must mention here, her accidental dropping of Kareem Hunt immediately plays into this. She still would have lost, but boy, would have been nice for her to have 25 to 27 points on her in her running back position somewhere. 5.1 points combined were two running backs. Unacceptable, Mark. And then for the third point, I'm just going to go ahead and say, for I Choose Violence, for you, Mark, Devontae Adams finally gives you a game. Gibson finally gives you a game. Robinson is continuing on his streak of giving you games. Knox, obviously a great pickup, a great fantasy pickup. I believe you said you picked him up in week 3?
Yes.
After week 3? So like you picked him up early after just one good game, after one big game, and decided you were going to roll the dice on him. It turns out it's paying dividends right now. Cordarrelle Patterson, another waiver wire pickup. So what I'll say is the people that you drafted, some of these guys are finally showing up. And then two big waiver wire pickups, Knox and Patterson, happen to be making the difference for you this last 2 weeks. So that's really it. So I mean, I didn't need to go spot for spot in this one. Her team played like trash. You got everything you wanted from your players, and that's that.
Everything except for DJ Moore and Kyler Murray, but that's okay.
You know what? That's fine because those guys have been your most consistent players all the way up until this week. So,
yes.
If they're going to have a down week, this is the week to have that down week. And you were, once again, I would say football God smiled down upon you and said, "Don't worry about it. The rest of your guys are going to carry the weight."
Yeah, I am just glad that I did not play Corey's championship team or Big Trust this week. Because I swear, if I scored 168 and these motherfuckers scored 180 something and I lost, I would have thrown something at my TV. That would have been it.
Understand, Mark, you would have lost on Monday night.
Yeah, exactly.
To either Lamar Jackson in Hollywood, or you would have lost to Mark Andrews. Like, it would have been bad.
Exactly, because I had 168 as just looking at this, I imagined to myself what it would have been like had I played them, because I had a 168 ending Sunday night, and looking at their scores, I was above both of them by at least 40 something points. Both of them I was beating by like 40 something points, and then they just eclipsed me like that. Like, that's insane.
Yep. I'm glad I didn't have to face nobody that was going bonkers. But
yeah,
I don't even know. Do we need to look at the bench? I don't think we need to look at the bench. There ain't nothing on the bench, Mark.
We have to keep it consistent, sir.
Fine. For consistency, Melvin Gordon is somebody that I would have started over one of her running backs, but it really wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, I would have started him over Nyheim Hines versus Baltimore. Or Devin Singletary. I would start Nyheim Hines over Devin Singletary every week, Mark. But that's just me. I just don't like that guy. Cole Beasley, Sammy Watkins, Gio Bernard. It seems as though she just doesn't have a good bench. Like, this is going to be a problem for her moving forward, especially with the bye weeks coming up. Yeah. And look at you, Myles Gaskin, 31 points, Mark. Finally. How do you feel about Myles? I don't even care about Antonio Brown. How do you feel about Myles Gaskin giving you 31 on the bench?
I feel good about it. I'm like, good. I hope it continues so that one day I could put you in the starting slot and feel comfortable. I feel good that that he did it. He was always going to be a bench player for my team. He was supposed to be a bench player that was just laying in wait in case I need him to give me the same points that I was going to get from James Robinson or Antonio Gibson. But now, hopefully, he can actually be that now. And Antonio Brown, like, I just hope that this type of numbers continue because, like you said, with Gronk being out, it seems like it opens it up more for the receivers. But with Gronk there, Antonio Brown is shut down more, and then it's a guessing game of is it going to be Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. So, hopefully, Gronk misses a few more games so we can continue to see this volume go to the receivers.
At this point, Mark, I'm hoping Gronk comes back. I need him to come back and shut this shit down. I need Tobias to be shut down, and I need you to be shut down, Mark. Please, Gronk, get healthy.
No, we don't need that at all. Well, that concludes our our week 5 post-game wrap-up and analysis. So I did want to get into something because now that we are a quarter of the way into the season and we are in week 5, let's just go over and take a look at the record books and what's going on so far this season. All right. So just taking a look at what the current record books are showing so far this season, we're going to just take a quick look here. The most wins this season obviously goes to Labarticus Prime. He leads all categories with the current win streak of 4 and the longest win streak of 4. And he also has the most wins. So since week 1, he has not lost a game. And on the flip side of that, We Not From 750 leads the league with the most losses. He has 4 losses. And he leads every category there except for the current streak. Because he had a tie, it broke up his loss category. And now it is Indie Animals and FTW who have the current streak of 2 losses in a row. Now, going into margin of victory, the single week margin of victory, it goes to I Choose Violence versus Reese's Buttercup with the 78.08, which happened just this week. It is also the all-time record. And the average largest margin of victory also goes to I Choose Violence, 49.79. It seems like the name I Choose Violence is starting to actually fit the team here.
Yeah, well, I can't. I wish I had something negative to say to you, but I mean, the stats are speaking right now. I'm gonna let them do what they do.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will have something to say, but it is what it is. But the smallest margin of victory goes to Labarticus Prime. His single week, which was against you, he won by a score of 2.26, and it should also be the all-time smallest margin of victory. But at the time, Reese's Buttercup team won by 0.10, but then the stat correction changed that to a tie. So this is still showing up here, even though it should be Labarticus Prime versus Lancelot.
And I just want to make mention that my other loss that I had was by 2.8 something. So yes, I just have a knack for losing these close games. I'm glad I can win a close one this week. So,
and the smallest average number of victory also goes to Labarticus Prime. And as you will see when we get into the power rankings, you will know why that is. He has an average margin of victory of 14.21 points. Now we're getting to the margin of defeat, which is the same as the margin of victory, is just flipped. Reese's Buttercup team holds those areas in a single week in all time, but the average loss goes to Indie Animals. Even though he only has 2, he's been blown out both times that he lost. So, so that right there shows when he has a margin of a loss from 43.22. smallest margin of defeat goes to Team Lancelot. And Team Lancelot has the smallest, his average loss is 2.51, which is something you just missed.
Yeah, yep. Didn't know that stat was on there, by the way. And of course, it's showing right there. Yep.
Strength of schedule, the hardest. Indie Animals have had the hardest schedule so far this season, according to his weekly average, which is 140.08. And who had the easiest strength of schedule so far this season is I Choose Violence with 100, with the average being 115.62. But given the fact that I Choose Violence has a high points for, it wouldn't have mattered if his average was, if he had the hardest strength of schedule or not. He would have still had the same amount of wins. All right, so that's it for the record books. Now we're going to get into the power rankings. And so this is Shawn's segment. So this will be presented to you by the man himself.
All right, let's get into it for the week 5 power rankings. Already, you have Big Trust in first place, jumping up 6 spots from week 4. He was in spot 7, and he's up to 1 now, due in large part by his point total. Okay, he is now the leading scorer in the league, so he's first in that department, and he's second in points for versus points against margin. And he's also second in the standings. That has launched him into first place. He's also 4th in points scored versus points projected. So all those things considered, he's in the top 5 in 4 out of the 5 categories I used to rank the power rankings. And that's how he ended up at spot number 1 this week. Spot number 2, we have I Choose Violence. He's up 3 spots from last week from being at number 5. He is second in point total. So these big games that these guys have had recently this week have launched them up a few spots. So Mark, I will tell you, is third in the standings, first in points for versus points against, second in points versus projected, which I believe you are one of the only people in the league. You're one of 2 people in the league that have outscored your projections. And then you are also second in points. You're dead last in strength of schedule, but everything else has launched you here. If you had any little bit of help in strength of schedule, you probably would be number 1. There we go.
But people don't score more points against me, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Keep the point total low. I need a low bar so I can win.
But this is also why we have the power rankings, Mark, because even though you have the easiest schedule, you're obviously not winning because of that. You obviously are doing everything else. So Corey's championship team has jumped up 6 spots. So Big Trust and Corey's championship team have made the biggest moves this week in the power rankings. He also went up 6 spots, up from spot 9 last week.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it's mainly due to his point total here. He is also in the top 5 in 4 categories. I'm not going to go through them for him. Okay, so then we have Darius, Indie Animals, number 4. They dropped 3 spots with another loss, Mark. He has the toughest strength schedule, but he has another loss on his record, and he dropped from having the number 1 points for, dropping down to, I believe, the number 5 points for. So those 2 things happen, and the loss, the drop in the standings, point total drop has knocked him all the way down to spot 4. FTW is at spot 5. He's down 2 spots from last week. It's a tough loss. That loss has knocked him down. Lancelot, my team, has dropped 2 spots even in a victory, but this is due to the point total. I mean, 138 wasn't enough to maintain my spot at spot 4 while everybody else was jumping out the gym. Lombardicus Prime, he goes up 1 spot. Even though he's at the number 1 spot, seemingly though, he still cannot climb up the power rankings. And I'm going to speak about that here. He is 5 in points for versus points against, and he's first in the standings. That's the only thing keeping him in spot 7 and moving him up 1 from last week. He is 9th in strength of schedule, 7 when it comes to points scored versus points projected, and he is also 7th in total points scored in the league. So he's kind of sitting right where he should be, Mark. If he had a tougher schedule, he would not be 4-1, and that's what the power rankings are telling us. Okay, we move down to Reese's Buttercups. They dropped 6 spots as the biggest drop of the week. She went from spot 2 to spot 8. Between the stat correction, making a tie, and then making it a tie, and then her point totals not being all that, and then her strength of schedule also not being all that. She has lucked up with her strength of schedule, Mark, and this is showing that. It is showing that, especially since she's finally lost 2 games. She's where I believe she should have been the whole time. But I will say this, her team does score close to the projected points. That's the only thing that's really been saving her this year. I love Cam Newton. Dropped 3 spots. He's down from spot 6 to spot 9. What can I say? Another loss. He's just gonna continue to drop if he keeps losing these games and not scoring a bunch of points. And then we get to the bottom 3 here. Your player got hurt. We Not From 750. Raw Dog Supreme. All in the same exact spots they were previously. I personally believe this is where they should be. It looks crazy with Raw Dog Supreme being 2 and 3 and being at the bottom, and Rodney still being 1 spot ahead of him, being 4 and 1. But when you look at it here, we have between Raw Dog Supreme is 11th in the standings, 10th in points for versus points against, 12th in points versus points projected, and also last in scoring. So therefore, the slight edges that Rodney has, especially in strength of schedule, Rodney has had the second highest strength of schedule. And Rodney, I hate to say it, I don't know if it's just not your year and you're just going to continue to get these games where everybody scores against you. I can't say it's going to stop. It happened to me. It might not stop, but I tell you what, you have potential. I think maybe next week you're going to get it. But there we go. That's all we got for the power rankings. Mark, do you have any comments?
The only comment that I have here is that despite having a record of 2 and 3, Raw Dog Supreme is still in 12th place, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is how he's 2 and 3 and he ain't scored no points, Mark. He's averaging 115.3 and he has 2 wins. I don't even understand how that works.
Hey, look. Hey, the schedule is what the schedule is.
Luck will eventually run out and the power rankings won't look so crazy.
So that concludes our coverage of the power rankings. Now let's get into what picks we got right and what picks we got wrong here. All right, guys, what you're looking at right now is the League Pick'em screen. This screen shows you, it keeps track of what you pick throughout the season. I've been picking all throughout the season, so my record is showing here. And it seems like Ricky has been making picks and Shawn has been making picks as well.
Yeah, listen, I only made 1 week's worth of picks there, brother.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. And Darius made 1 pick 1 time. And he was wrong. So anybody that's watching this, if you just get on and make your picks for who you think is going to win, you can participate in the weekly picks. But anyway, let's scroll down to what was right and what was wrong this week. right off the back, we see I was wrong. I picked your player got hurt to win versus Corey's championship team, and that was That was an incorrect pick.
And I did pick Corey's championship team, so I got that one correct.
Yeah, I picked myself to win, and that was correct. I picked We Are Not from 750. That was incorrect. I know you picked yourself. So.
Yep.
I do believe we both picked I Love Cam Newton.
We did.
And that was incorrect. And I do not remember. Huh?
No, I'm just double checking. Yeah, we did. We both picked I Love Cam Newton. Go ahead.
And I do not know who I picked FTW. I don't remember who you picked, but that was incorrect.
I picked FTW as well.
So that was incorrect as well. I picked Big Trust this week, and you picked Indie Animals, correct?
Nope, I picked Big Trust. So the only ones we disagreed on was the first game.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that one right, and then my game.
Yeah.
And then we chose the same for the rest. So
okay.
For this week,
you're ahead by 2. Well, ahead by 3 now because I was down by 1, I believe.
Well, you went 2 and 4.
So this is a cool little thing. It does keep track of your weekly pick'ems here on Yahoo when you pick a team. But now there's no need to look back on the past on how I didn't perform well because it's a new week and it's time to look ahead to the future and see what I could get right this week. So with that being said, we are now going to get into our predictions for week 6. All right. So we're just going to scroll straight down in order here. And we're going to start off with I Choose Violence versus We Are Not from 750. Projected score of 133.29 to 128.17. There is nothing. I am in general just going with the same lineup that's been winning me games. The only thing that I had to change was I had to take out Cordero Patterson because it is the official start of the bye weeks here now that we're in week 6. So with the first set of bye weeks, Cordero Patterson is one of the casualties. And so it won't be starting him this week. Outside of that, it is what it is. You know what? Even though I am favored here heavily to win, again, it bothers me that he doesn't have a win yet. And I'm going to stick with that. Like, at some point, it's going to come due. I'm going to do everything within my power to keep it from coming due. But I'm going to go ahead and pick We Not from 750 for this win.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I'm not picking him. I'm picking you, Mark, and just a few reasons to run down them really quickly. You have Green Bay versus Chicago. I do expect it to be a close. I'm not even talking about Aaron Rodgers here. I'm expecting Davante Adams to do a whole lot of work, but you do know it's Chicago. This is one of those games where it usually ends up being close. Green Bay might end the game with 21 to 24 points, and it'll come down to a last-second victory, and everybody's going to suck Aaron Rodgers off because he came back from behind against the Chicago Bears. But, yes, I expect it not to be a big scoring game, but I do expect to see a lot of Davante Adams. But because of the lack of touchdowns, that's why I think it'll have a bigger effect on Davante Adams than Aaron Rodgers. But with that said, you have Davante Adams versus Chicago. You have Gibson versus Kansas City. You have James Robinson versus Miami. And you have Knox versus Tennessee. All of those concern me for the defenses. That's what I'm looking at, and I feel like there's just too much for the taking. There's too much sitting on the table for a blow up performance. Out of those 4 guys, 2 of them have to go off, I would assume. And because of that, although I feel like Rodney has some decent matchups himself, I feel like it's not going to compare to what you have as far as boom or bust. I don't even say or bust, just boom games. So, yep, I'm going to go with you or Rodney. Sorry, Rodney. This just ain't going to be your week again.
Yeah.
I hope you win, though. I hope you win. I'm glad that I didn't lose to you, but now I hope you beat Mark.
Well, I hope you don't beat me, but I did pick you.
So we're picking against what we hoping for. I see.
Yeah. So next up, you have your player got hurt versus Labarticus Prime. I do believe. I believe in Ricky. I believe in Taylor Heineke going up against Kansas City. I believe in Deontay Johnson going up against Seattle. Especially now that the wide receiving core for Pittsburgh has whittled down to just 2. And hopefully just past week was a sign of better times for Ben Roethlisberger. And Najee Harris going up against Seattle. I love that matchup as well. So I believe in your player got hurt. I do not believe that Justin Herbert is going to have a repeat performance this week that he did last week. I think he's going to do all right, but not the same performance. Same with Austin Eckler. So I'm going with your player got hurt.
Yeah, I'm betting against you again on this one, Mark. I'm going with Lombardikus Prime for the exact opposite reasons. I just watched what the Indianapolis Colts were able to do to Baltimore. I just watched for 5 consecutive weeks the Baltimore defense not look like the Baltimore defense because of their injuries in their secondary.
That's true.
And if all they got out there is Marlon Humphrey back in their backfield, then that's going to be a problem. In their secondary, there's only one guy. And I believe that Justin Herbert is going to have a field day. And I also believe that will also lead to Eckler having a day. I just feel like at this point in the season, Eckler is just going to have a day against everybody. So I feel like he's matchup proof at this point. So Herbert having a big day, Eckler having a big day. If you look to the bench where he hides all of his players, I'll say CeeDee Lamb versus the Patriots. I will say I don't know about that one. I don't know. Bill if there's going to be a game where Bill pulls some shit out of his ass, it's going to be this game, Mark. So I'm not expecting CeeDee Lamb to really have a great game. But, I mean, those 2 guys, actually, now that I'm looking at it, man, this bench looks crazy. Got too many bye. You know what, Mark? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and change my pick. He's got too many guys on bye. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I still believe Herbert and Eckler will go off, but at this point, I don't think it's going to be enough. Ricky has some pretty good matchups.
All right. Next up, we have Team Lancelot versus FTW. Let's see. FTW has Matthew Stafford, who needs to right his ship a little bit. And the Giants may be the matchup for that. Alvin Kamara on bye. That solves it for me. No Alvin Kamara means I'm picking Team Lancelot. It just comes straight down to that for me. No Alvin Kamara.
You're not even going to wait to see who I have a tight end. I don't even got a tight end right now, Mark. Doesn't matter?
Nope.
Doesn't matter who I pick up? All right.
Nope. Doesn't matter at all.
Doesn't matter. Okay. I'll take that. This one, I'll have to say, I'm terrified this week. Matt Stafford versus the Giants. DeAndre Swift versus Cincy. I understand there's no Alvin Kamara. Michael Pittman versus Houston. All of this looks like the writings might be on the wall for me this week. I don't have as good of matchups here, except for hopefully Tyreek Hill just goes off for me. But yeah, I'm going to pick against myself, Mark. I'm going to pick FTW for this week because I believe it's going to hinge on whoever I pick up at tight end.
Okay, well, alrighty, cool. I mean, moving on. We're going into Raw Dog Supreme versus Indie Animals. Every time I say that name, it gives me joy. I smile on the inside. Well, the two teams that just recently made a trade are now matching up right away. Raw Dog Supreme has his QB slot empty. Is his quarterback? Oh, his quarterback is out. And he had no backup quarterback. So picking up a quarterback now. Whew. I don't know. That might be it. That might be the part that seals it for me. I think that's going to end up being what seals it for me on who I'm picking here. The fact that he has to go to the waiver or the free agency to scoop the bottom of the barrel for a quarterback, and even the volatile quarterbacks are gone at this point. So, well, no, Bridgewater's out there, but even still, he doesn't have Kyle Pitts this week.
In general, I just think Russ not being there hurts his team in a major way. That's just personally, I don't know. Like, he's so weak when it comes to a couple other positions. I mean, I'm not going to say a couple other positions. The wide receiver position, Jalen Waddle, it really, really concerns me. The flex, Carson at the flex is not going to do it either. So maybe Carson seems to see some volume because of Geno Smith being in there, but we don't know. But I just don't like that. I don't like the flex. I don't like the wide receiver position. And having a mediocre quarterback on top of that is not going to do him any favors.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have to be team. It's going to have to be the Indie Animals for me this week.
Yep, definitely not betting against him this week. Nope.
Yeah, so moving on to the next team, Big Trust versus Reese's Buttercups. Reese's Buttercups, 135 to 128. That is the projected score. Tom Brady is going up against Philadelphia. This is is this his first matchup since the Super Bowl loss with Philly?
I believe it is. I believe it is.
So this is his first matchup with Philadelphia since his Super Bowl loss. He is nursing an injury currently, but Philadelphia has been vulnerable as of late defensively. And they have a lot of weapons and high quality weapons. We have big play Slay, but that's one guy versus three. So I don't know. That's not going to work out. So I look to see Tom Brady do well, but then you have Patrick Mahomes on the flip side against Washington and Terry McLaurin against Kansas City. That's going to do well. I think the difference here is going to be the running backs. And I don't know what Reese's Buttercups is going to do about her running back situation, but it seems like the running back situation is going to be the difference here. Big Trust for the win.
I'm going to go Big Trust purely because that Tampa versus Philly matchup is going to work wonders. I think he's not going to have as good a performance out of the rest of his team. Maybe Aaron Jones does good versus Chicago. I don't know, but really, none of that matters if I believe none of that matters if DK Metcalf is going to have Geno Smith throwing to him, and that's really where I think Reese's Buttercups is going to be hurting. Is DK Metcalf not being able to give you that boom and make up for the lack of the running back performance?
You say that, but with Geno Smith throwing the ball, DK Metcalf had his highest point total of the season.
Oh, well, let me be clear, Mr. Mark. He got some of that while Russ was on the field. Do you think Geno Smith's play that we saw in his relief effort is the Geno Smith that we're going to get week to week? Do you believe, Mark? Do you believe?
Listen, I don't know what he's going to be. I'm just pointing out that his highest point total came in when Geno Smith was his quarterback.
Look, man, you're going to give Geno Smith half of a game. You're going to give him credit for the DK. That's fine, Mark. But I'm telling you, I don't trust it. So big
that's
trust.
Fine. That's fine.
With DK Metcalf.
They are going against Pittsburgh, so
DK Metcalf ain't going to have the game he needs to make up for Devin Singletary and Naheem Hines.
All right, next up, last but not least, we have I Love Cam Newton versus Corey's championship team. All right, looking at this kind of falls on to, for me, whether or not Christian McCaffrey is actually back. If he is healthy, great. Actually, it goes for both of them. Dalvin, we don't know if Dalvin Cook will be officially back this week or not as well. So, this is going to be so a lot of this comes down to who has the less injured team. I see Corey's championship team has put Julio Jones in the lineup.
He was out. He was out week 5. I mean, we don't know how healthy he's going to be.
Yeah, not knowing how healthy he's going to be. And honestly, I kind of think that's a bit of a mistake. Throughout this season, Hollywood Brown has been outperforming Julio Jones. I think you should stick. That's me personally. I think you should stick with that because he's only given up one bad performance. Meanwhile, Julio Jones has either not played or he's given pitiful performances. So
5-7. He had the 118 game.
Yeah.
I don't versus Seattle. I don't think that's going to be indicative of what he's going to put out week to week, especially considering they love to run the ball. And they apparently have been having success running the ball versus a lot of teams. And they've clearly made it a point since their defense can't defend anybody, they've made it a point to run the ball a million times. So
and on the flip, here's Hollywood Brown with his I would continue to go to that well until it proved me wrong. But that's just me. But with that being said, if both teams are completely healthy, both teams completely healthy, I'm going to go with I Love Cam Newton. I think Dalvin Cook being back is a very big deal, and Cooper Kupp going up against the Giants. Like I said, the Rams kind of need a bounce back game, and I think this is going to be the one for them. And he has the Rams defense going up against the Giants. So,
yep. All I'm gonna do, Mark, here is I'm gonna go with I Love Cam Newton, and I'm gonna say the big thing that's gonna be the difference maker is Darren Waller versus whatever tight end that Corey picks up, because of the fact that, Mark, there's quite a few people that don't have tight ends this week because of bye weeks or injuries. There will be more than one person trying to pick up a tight end on the waiver wire, Mark. And if that's going to be the case, if I'm not mistaken, Corey doesn't have the best waiver position right now. Matter of fact, let me look it up real quick. He's number 7, Mark. Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of a tight end he's going to get. I don't know if he's going to get the first, second, or third best available tight end. But at this point, that does matter. So he could be picking up a tight end that's only going to give him 2 points. That is going to be huge, especially if he doesn't get full health from Jones and McCaffrey. I definitely like I Love Cam Newton's situation a lot better.
I hear you there, and I kind of understand where you're coming from. But yeah, so that's my pick for this week, man. Is I love Cam Newton, and and he's losing his secret weapon this week, which is his kicker. Young Ho will not be playing this week as well. So yeah, it's I love Cam Newton for me this week. All right. Well, with that being said, now that ends our coverage of our week 6 predictions, and we will see which one of us ends up on top. As you can see, I did not have a great week this past week. So you guys that I did pick, you got to do better. And I went back to the well for some of you guys, so you better do better. All except for Rodney. Do not do better. I don't care that I picked you this week. Lose. Anyway. With that being said, I don't have nothing else. If you enjoy the content, comment. If you disagree with our content, comment. And if you like us, subscribe. If you don't like us, subscribe. Like it. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, we out of here, man. Peace.